We are speaking with the one and only John Corabi. He's got a new song out called Cosi Bella. So beautiful. The video, the music is available now. Sounds great. And as we say here in Montreal, bonjour, John. Or Jean.
Jean.
Since we're in Montreal, bonjour, Jean. How are you?
I'm good, dude. I'm just, sitting here at my house doing interviews and, new day, new way, trying to figure out my little, slice of the pie here in the
new world,
in the age of digital world, and
right.
Keep my fingers crossed and rolling the dice.
I want to, before I get into this, I want to ask you one question, because every interview you've given since 1994, some dude asks you about Mötley Crüe. How incredibly over it are you about answering questions about that band?
Or annoyed when anybody asks you?
Like,
you know what? Honestly,
you just sort of roll your eyes and go, "Really? Come on."
No, the only time it really bugs me is when most of the interview is about Mötley Crüe.
Right.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, like, it's part of my history. A lot of people ask me, one of the other questions, everybody says, well, why have you been in so many bands? And it's like, I didn't really plan it that way. It just kind of worked out that way.
Right.
Hold on a second. I got to scratch off my second question. How many bands?
Yeah. How many bands have you been in?
But it's just, I'm proud of everything that I've done.
Okay.
It's just the cards that I was dealt. So I don't mind talking about Mötley Crüe. It's just, when you start when it starts getting to be more Motley than
right. The entire focus. Right.
Yeah, you know what I mean? And it's weird. I said it the other day. I've been doing interviews for the last couple of days. To me, I liken life as a car. You know what I mean? And it's like you're trying to move forward, you're going forward. And if you're driving the car but looking in the rearview mirror, you're gonna hit something.
Right.
So the best thing is to just look through the window, move forward, and do whatever. But I don't mind anything that I've done. Daisies, Union, Scream, whatever.
But it's almost like Mötley Crüe is like the cops in that rear view mirror. You're constantly having to look back, like, oh shit, there they are.
Yeah, they're still there.
Oh man. Well, talking about Mötley Crüe, I mean, like, I have a couple of things that I want to ask you about it. But anyways, I want to talk about this new song because it's awesome. Who is the band that's playing on this track, by the way?
To be honest with you, due to the schedules of all the guys in my band, when I recorded this, let me back up. When I first wrote this song, or kind of had an idea of it in my head, I was getting together with Marty, who produced a few things for the Dead Daisies.
Right.
And I told Marty, I had the idea and I took it into Marty. I had a little bit of a different chorus, and Marty does what he does, and he helped tweak it. And I actually threw the song out there for when we did the Burn It Down record. And the Daisies were like, it's a little out of our wheelhouse. I don't know where you're going with this, but a little out of our wheelhouse. So I just kind of put it to bed for a while. And then, after I left the Daisies, 2019, I was busier than shit. And so I was out doing acoustic shows. 2020 came along. I talked to Marty. I said, dude, let's do a solo record. And he was like, all right, I'll produce it. So I started showing him all these ideas. We recorded quite a few things, actually. And then COVID hit. Then I started panicking. And I'm like, shit. No, that's when I realized, like, more than 90% of my income comes from shows playing live. Because let's face it, not a lot of guys are making money on royalties and record sales and shit anymore.
Nobody.
So I kind of freaked out, and I was upset with myself because I've done, if you total all the records I've done, it's like 13 or 14 records. I'm sitting there going, man, why did I never sit behind the board and learn how all this shit works? So I took Pro Tools classes, did that. Also wrote the book. But then what I did is I I said, all right, I'm going to do a solo record, but no one was working with anybody. Everybody was under a rock somewhere. So I just started recording stuff here at my house. And, you know, unfortunately, like Ian was out doing some spotty shows here and there with either Tantric or Rehab. All the guys in my band were out with like Gene Simmons, doing some stuff with Ace Frehley, you know. So I just started laying everything down myself. I finished the song, I sent it to Marty, and then he started listening to it, and we had talked about the inspiration for the song being Penny Lane by the Beatles or Killer Queen by Queen.
Yeah.
So then Marty had a little fun with it in the production sense. He was hearing the bass be a little bit more movement, like Paul McCartney, a little more bounce in the drums. So his son Evan played drums, Marty played the bass, and then he threw some like horns on it, and then he mixed it, mastered it, sent it back. So now that's what I've been doing. I've got probably almost a whole record done of stuff that I've recorded here. And then I would just email the files to Marty. He fixes them, sends them back. So they're really on this track, even though my son and Topher and everybody are in the video, it's really just me, Marty, and Evan.
Wow. So Ian's not even on the drums. It's Evan.
Not on this one, but it's funny. I've got 2 songs up, 2 brand new ideas that I'm going into the studio because I can do like a MIDI drum track.
Right. Program it just for the demo.
Yeah, it's all on one, and it sounds great. I mean, the drum tones that I get are awesome, but everything is all on one track. I want separation, and I want Ian to play on some of this new stuff that I have. So I'm going to go, my buddy D.A. Carcos, who Mitch, you're familiar with, he did the Unplugged record with me. He's got a studio called Underdog. So I'm going to go up there this week, and we've got the drums all set up. Ian's going to lay these 2 tracks down, and then I'm going to bring the files home and start adding stuff to it, and then give it to Marty. So Ian will be on the record, but it was like that first one was just really me, Marty, and Evan.
Yeah, it's just crazy how, you know, you've gone from being in the studio to now it's like, oh shit, I actually have to learn how to use Pro Tools or Logic and make demos at home. It's like now you're the engineer and the producer and the mixer. You're doing everything on your own. It's like,
well, you know, but it's really kind of come down to that, the way things are playing out anymore with the record industry. You know, all these kids now, I'm just sitting there looking at these kids that are just, you know, YouTube channels, and they're on Spotify, and they're doing everything themselves. You know, and it wasn't laziness. It's just, I never thought, I'm like, okay, I'm the artist.
Right.
You're the engineer. You're the producer. I don't tell you how to do your thing. You don't tell me how to do mine. And we work together.
Right.
But now, you know, so I would walk in and I would go, hey, check out this guitar riff. Can you give me that George Harrison rotary sound?
Right.
And they would do it. And now I'm like, okay, I want a George Harrison rotary sound. How do I do? You know what I mean? So I'm figuring it out.
You're like, which plugin does that?
Yeah, and it's funny, by the way, with all these do-it-yourselfers, even at the radio station, Jeremy, they hired a Twitch guy to be the new DJ, and it's just like,
yeah, they hired a TikToker with like 6 months experience for like half the pay, and they like, yeah, he's got 100,000 followers on TikTok, let's throw him on the air. Like,
it's crazy.
It's a new world.
I'm not used to it. Again, I'm a bit old school. But you know, I'm figured it out. Like it's funny, like I'll record things at my house. I'm working on another song right now, and I recorded it, and I played it for Marty and my manager and Ian, and even Ian heard it. He goes, I really love this idea, Dad, but fuck, it's really long. So then I went back, I go, shit, I don't know how to edit the guitars because it's a WAV file.
Right, yeah.
I'm like, I don't know how to do that. So I edited the drums, and then I erased everything and started over again and re-recorded it. So
Jeez,
there,
you're pulling some Mutt Lang stuff at your house over there.
well, it's just no, and it's not because of Mutt Lang. It's just because I'm a dumbass, and I still haven't quite figured out the thing like cut, move that part,
Yeah.
but the other,
Mutt Corabi. This is fantastic.
Yeah.
So now I'm just like, I redid all the guitars.
Mhm.
And
Let me ask you two things on this. Are you writing songs just for yourself, or do you want to see yourself as a songwriter and sending stuff out to, hey, Metallica, try this song for you, or hey, Miley Cyrus, try this song? Are you a songwriter that's sending stuff out, or is everything for John?
No, I mean, I have.
Right.
I can't remember the name of the band, but I had a track on this kid my manager turned me on to. I can't remember the name of the band for the life of me, but they did a record and I had a co-write. I sat down and I wrote with the singer.
Nice.
And then I had one on the Rat album, a song that I had co-written with Blotzer, and then he wound up giving it to Rat. And so I mean, I don't mind. I would eventually at some point like to get into maybe producing other bands, but the producing is more about, I think, developing the song, you know what I mean? Or developing, maybe suggesting other things musically, or, oh, that's a little long, let's move this part over here. And then, but I want to learn how to do it all. I would love to produce. I would love to write with other artists. I haven't quite gotten there yet, but that's why I love Marty.
Right.
Yeah.
Marty.
Is the focus for you now to be John Corabi, the artist, or let's say Miley Cyrus phones and says, I need a guitar playing male voice in my band. Like, are you at that point where you're like, nope, it's all about John now. I'm not joining any other band. It's all John. Or is it come down to opportunity? Miley Cyrus calls, you go, yeah, okay. And the local band calls, you go, nah.
I don't even now, because I've actually had a few offers in the last year or so to go work with another band, and I'm just like, man,
it's John time.
It's John time, but John time means John's just saying, no, I don't want to do that.
Yeah.
Which
is okay a lot of the time.
I'm still writing with Marty. I wrote a couple of ideas, great ideas. Like, actually, I got to get to them. I wrote a couple of great ideas with Richard Fortas. Adam Hamilton, quite a few things. So
we love Adam Hamilton, by the way. We just want to put that out there.
No, he's a great dude. I've known Adam since he played. I did a run with Rat, and LA Guns was
with Adam.
They opened the show or whatever.
Yeah.
And I met Adam, and he was awesome. So I just want to now it's more or less like me going, I want to do this song now. I want to release this song now.
Right.
And, everybody gives me their advice, but at the end of the day, I'm like, no, I want to do this one now. You know what I mean? Like, so there's always a give and take when you're in a band, or even like I was saying with this song, Cosi Bella. The way I was hearing it, it's, just a 70s classic rock song, maybe in the like something in the vein of Penny Lane by the Beatles or Killer Queen. And I thought it would be cool for the Daisies, but they were like, no. So I went, okay, no worries. So there's always that give and take. You're working in the confines when you're in a band of,
right.
Here's what we
By the way, it's strange because the Daisies do that sort of 70s, 80s rock thing. It sounds like it would have been perfect, quite frankly.
Well, in their defense, they heard it in a very, very rough form. It's just me on acoustic guitar singing with Marty.
Gotcha.
And
Dog's like, what is this?
Yeah, they might not have gotten the idea. And it's funny because I keep hearing different, like I played it for somebody. I did an interview the other day, and the guy goes, oh, I'm totally hearing Killer Queen and Saturday in the Park by Chicago. And I'm like, okay, that's cool. I love that song too.
Yeah.
And then I had another guy go, yeah, it's like Killer Queen, but with like Thin Lizzy guitar tones, and like Dan McCaffrey from Nazareth singing. And I'm like, you know, so everybody hears their own thing.
Yeah,
You know,
especially
it's
those like
kinda cool.
the guitar harmonies, you know, it's very Thin Lizzy kind of like harmonies, which is kind of cool.
Well, I gotta
You
tell you,
know,
it sounds like Union meets the Dead Daisies to me. That's what it's sounding like to me.
well, it almost sounds like John Corabi singing though, which is weird.
I know.
Which
No.
is not what I was going for.
Yeah.
No, but it's
Talking
listen,
about
it's,
writing and stuff, John. I'm really curious because you know you talked about collaborating with all these guys, and it's like you're the first person I'm actually going to get to talk to that's written with Nikki Sixx, for example. What's the writing process like with Nikki Sixx compared to everybody else that you've worked with?
The same,
Yeah.
you know, well, even with Nikki, it wasn't just Nikki.
Hmm.
Regardless of who it was, it might have been Mick or Tommy. I mean, Tommy wrote a couple riffs on the '94 record, "Smoke the Sky," and that little Uncle Jack. That was Tommy, and
Wow.
so we would come into the studio with a riff,
Hmm.
and then everybody would listen to that riff and go, "Oh, that's cool. What is that? Oh, I was just kind of dicking around on my guitar last night, and I came up with this. I put it down on this little recorder, and then all four of us would develop the thing. I call them maps. We would kind of map out the song, the arrangement,
Yeah.
and while we're doing that part, I'm scatting a melody,
Hmm.
and then once we had that, we would record everything, and then Nikki and I would go away, and we would sit down and we would play with that melody and the lyrics,
Hmm.
and we would write the lyrics, and then go in and record it and
Wow.
take it from there.
That's a bit of a revelation to me that Tommy Lee would come in with a guitar riff.
No, Tommy actually, you know, Tommy's truly one of the most musical people I've ever met. I mean, the guy plays piano,
Hmm.
he plays guitar. He's not, you know, Eddie Van Halen, but Tommy knows what he wants to hear, and he's good enough to put his ideas down. So when he did if you notice, both songs, Uncle
Planet,
Jack and Smoke the Sky,
Smoke
are
the
what we
Sky.
call a D tuning.
right.
Yeah.
So it's the E string. So Tommy would lower the E string so he could just bar the thing with one finger,
Right. Put the
and he would
chords.
go, you know what I mean?
Mm.
And then we would go from there. But
Wow.
it was really a group effort, and it's the same thing. Like Cosi Bella, I brought Cosi Bella in.
Hmm.
I literally sit here all the time, usually on acoustic guitar, and I had the idea and I threw it on my phone. And I took it to Marty, but like I said, it had a little bit of a different chorus.
Right.
And I was singing something like, when I say singing, it's called scatting. I just like, ba 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 ba, and
Get the melody line down.
get the melody line, kind of formulate something.
Right.
So when Marty heard it, he goes, "How are you hearing this?" Like he was a little, wait, what?
Like thrown off.
A little bit, like, where are you going with this? And so I started to explain it to him, just the chord things. I go, man, I want to do something really musical, put some pianos on it.
Mm.
And I was saying, Penny Lane, Killer Queen.
Hmm.
Okay. So then what he did was, my melody, he liked it, but he goes, make it a little wordier. Like, and I was like, what, so then he started singing like, he was scatting to me like, it was an AC/DC song, You Shook Me All Night Long.
Right.
She was a fast machine. She kept the motor clean. It was like this fucking thing of lyrics. Boom, 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 boom. And then he goes, and then pull the chorus back, where usually you do the opposite.
Yeah.
Pull the chorus back, keep it real simple. And I was like, okay, boom. So we laid the new scat on with the chords, and saved it. Okay, so then I brought it to the Daisies, because I knew like the Daisies usually have their input in a song as well. So I played them the really rough idea, and they were like, I'm not really getting where you're going with this. So I put it
Yeah.
to bed, and then I re-looked at it. I pulled it out. I recorded it. I wrote some lyrics for it. I sang it. I sent it back to Marty. He went, "Yes, I got it now. It sounds
Nice.
awesome." So
So what's going to be happening? Is this going to be like a full record? Are you going to do an EP or just going to do the singles route?
no, I'm not. I'm gonna do. I mean, it's weird because I haven't quite figured out this whole thing yet.
Right.
I don't want to sit here until I figure it out. So I've been looking at everything, and again, Marty was kind of the catalyst for this whole thing. He said, "Why are you doing a record?"
Have you thought of the John 5 model? John 5 does this brilliantly. He puts out, he has the song of the month, right? And he
Right.
puts out a song on whatever, the first of every month for 10 months. And then at the end of it, he makes a limited edition CD and he sells you the 10 songs. But for the next 10 months, you get a song on the first. And as a fan, you go, got something to look forward to. And if you noticed in the media, whether it's your Blabbermouth or your Brave Words or whatever, every month, John 5 has a new album. So he's being talked about for an entire year.
Yeah.
It's genius. It's
and
just genius.
and that was the thing that Marty was talking about. Marty said, "Look, let's look at the grand scheme of things." He goes, those days of getting a big record advance and going into the studio
Mhm.
and hiring, the Mutt Langs and the Bob Ross, and he goes, it's gone.
Yeah.
And he goes, what these young kids are doing now is like they're just doing, they're going for streams. They're doing digital sales.
Yeah.
So, I looked at what he was saying, and then he said, really, he goes, go back now and think in the last 10 years, even the mom and pop stores are few and far between.
Yeah.
So your places like Tower Records, Sam Goody, Warehouse Music, like gone. Best Buy, Kmart, Walmart, they only
Target.
sell in stores. They only sell the top 20 records on Billboard, period. And if none of them are rock, then there's no rock in those stores. So Marty said the same thing. He goes, do a song once a month or once every 2 months, do a video, put it out there. Even if you did it every 2 months, like John 5's doing one a month, he goes, even if you did it every 2 months, you're getting all that stuff again. Everybody's talking about you push the song, promote it, do all this stuff. And then once you get 4, 5, 6 songs out there, drop an album with the whole thing, 10 or 12 songs, put them out there. And he goes, and now the other thing is, so there's really nowhere to sell them. You're basically selling them on Amazon, your online store, your own store, or you're selling them at shows, which is what I've been doing the last 10 years or 12 years.
Yeah.
So I'm like, well, what the fuck, so I think I'm just kind of done with record labels and record contracts and all that shit. I'm just going to do the fucking things myself and, and hopefully build from this is the launching pad.
And you can monetize. I mean, if you get 1 million streams on YouTube, they are going to send you some decent cash. So it's
from your mouth to God's ears, buddy.
Yeah. Yeah. They pay us for this thing, so why not?
Here we are. Yeah.
Here we are. In terms of looking back, there's always been talk about union and doing some more stuff with Bruce. Where are you on that? Do you want to revisit that? Do you want to, you've done the Live 94 and the John Corabi Unplugged. Do you want to do something else with sort of that? Or are you just really about moving forward at this point?
Again, Bruce and I talked about this a few years ago, and I think you and I touched base on this on one of our last interviews. Yeah. I'm not against going, like Bruce and I talked and he said he wanted to, well, I think we should do a record. And I go, well, I think you're putting the cart before the horse. I think what we need to do is, if we're going to go out, maybe do a few weeks worth of shows, a month tops, let's rehearse. Let's go out and see, first of all, what kind of fucking reaction we would get.
Right. What's
We
the
don't
demand?
know. It's
Yeah.
been 21 years since we've played together. You know, I mean, there's a few fans out there that know us and like us, but as far as doing a record, man, it's like I just kind of feel. I mean, and if you look at it, even Kiss, Aerosmith,
Mhm.
those guys, you go, hey, when are you guys going to do another record?
They're not.
And they're like,
No.
why?
Right.
Why? So
I actually think I would like to see you work with Bruce, but I don't necessarily want to see you redo Union. I want to see what you and Bruce would do in 2021 or 2022 and come up with a new concept. I think you're right. Revisiting something from 20 years ago doesn't make much sense, but you've got a talented guitarist and a talented singer. What could you do in 20, whether you call it Corabi Kulik or whether you call it Union, whatever you call
Mhm.
I'd like to see where you move forward.
Again, I wouldn't be against going out and doing some shows because I think there are fans that, again, Union, like Motley, like the Scream.
Right.
It was like when it was happening, nobody really knew what it was, and for some weird reason, I have this MO where it's like I do these records, and then like 400 years later, everybody goes, "Man, what a killer record!"
Right.
You know what I mean? So I have this thing where whatever.
Well, it's funny because, you know, when those records come, I talk about this with like my friends that are my age, and we're like, you know, we look back and I talk to Mitch. It's like, you know, at the time when this album came out, everybody's like, oh, what the fuck is this? But now, you know, 20 years on or 27 years later, it was like, oh man, that was such a great album. I'd love to go see that live. So it's like at the time they didn't appreciate it, but now they do.
Yeah, it's and that has been my MO through my whole career.
Mhm.
And that's okay. Fine. Great. So right now I'm releasing Cosi Bella. When my granddaughters, I'm thinking once my granddaughters are like 21,
Yeah.
I'm going to leave them a nice little chunk of money in the bank.
They'll
There you go.
love it in 20
It'll
years.
be
from
like
now.
a cult classic that whatever. But
Well, Yeah.
I wouldn't mind going out doing some shows and then maybe in the process, maybe me, Brent, Jamie, and Bruce, we write one or two songs
Yeah.
and just do what I'm doing now. Put them out for digital download.
Why not?
That would be cool to me.
Where are you, by the way, on the doing the whole show thing? Because you did sit at home for a year. Are you itching to get? I mean, you've done a couple of acoustic things, but are you itching to get back there? Are you like, you know what? It's been kind of nice being at home and, you know, sleeping
No.
in my bed. No.
No, it's been kind of nice being at home in my bed and at the same time I was, you know, I was kind of productive. I did learn how to use Pro Tools to a degree. Again, as I said earlier, I'm still
Did you buy Pro Tools? Or are you on the subscription plan?
No, well, I guess. I mean, it's still like a 3 or 4 year thing or whatever. I didn't, but I'm actually doing this from my studio. I don't know if you guys can see, you know,
Look at
but
that.
it's funny. I learned how to use Pro Tools, caveman, but I learned and I'm still learning. I wrote a book and, you know, I've got new music. I still got to at some point sit down today and get in the studio, but you know, I just I do love playing live. I love doing my acoustic shows because they're easy.
Right.
Mhm.
I can just show up, tell some jokes, play some shit, and storytellers, boom. I do want to get back out with my band, but unfortunately, even the acoustic shows is, you know, having a cafe style acoustic thing. I this week, technically today, I was supposed to be in Mexico doing shows,
Right.
and all those shows postponed.
Yeah.
And then I had some shows in the beginning, the first week of September, that also postponed due to COVID. So I'm like, well, fuck, I'm not gonna. I hate postponing and moving shit around.
Mhm.
So I just kind of went, you know what? I'm just gonna release music and fuck it. I'm just gonna wait until, you know, it's a total go, total green, and then get out there and start playing full band and go do my thing again. There's no point, you know what I mean? Because then I'm asking people to, hey, wait, no, got to postpone. Then I'm putting the shows up there. Then I'm taking them down.
Hey,
then
wait
I'm
again,
posting, and I'm like,
Yeah, hold on to the money. It's the whole
By the
thing.
way, Jeremy, the one thing that you missed in the last 10 years was John and Russ Dwarf did a few Canadian acoustic shows together. It was just, it was hilarious. It was just the greatest thing. I mean, those two together are trouble, and it was great trouble, and I love it. So,
Yeah,
maybe,
but that's how it should be. Like
yes.
when I first started doing these things, the acoustic things, I was looking at all the records I did, and I was trying to do like 2 songs from every record.
Mm-hmm.
And then I would get all done, and I would go sit at the merch booth or the bar and sign. I'm just kind of hang out with everybody. And it winds up, everybody goes, oh, hey, that third song, Father, Mother, Son, like what possessed you to write that? Or, what's it about? Or,
Yeah.
so they were really curious about it. And then I sat there and I was going, I'm like doing 27 songs in my show. Maybe I need to cut it back to like 15 and just tell stories, how this song came about, why I play this cover song, why I do that. And then it gradually became like, somebody, I would start talking about a song and somebody yell up the title, Hooligan's Holiday. And I'm like, fuck you. Do you whatever, you know what I mean?
Perfect.
I just literally fuck with people and they fuck with me, and I tell stories. I tell really horrible jokes.
Yeah. It seems like a friendly ball busting kind of rock and roll show, as it should be.
Oh,
and
dude,
there's
those shows were great.
Completely unscripted. Like I don't have a set list. Someone will yell out. It was funny. Like a few months ago, I said something about, I was telling a story. I'm a Beatles fan. And this fan goes, play Yesterday. So I go, okay, hold on. And I literally sat there and taught myself the song on stage for like 5 minutes. And I went, okay, here you go. And I played it.
Perfect.
So it's really kind of no rhyme or reason. It's loose.
Yeah.
Probably very much like my personality, chaos. And it's like, here you go. It is what it is.
Yeah, well,
That's it. And you got to love it. Cosi Bella is so beautiful. It's available now wherever you stream, and make sure you go buy the single on iTunes and all that stuff. We got a fan question from Java. He wrote in, he wanted me to ask you. Ask him about his relationship with Mick and why the collaboration with Mars and the Mars solo album fell through. What's going on with that?
Don't know.
Don't know? What happened?
To be honest with you, Mick called me when he moved to Nashville.
Right.
And he was like, hey, crap, and I'm like, who is this? He goes, it's Mars, you bastard. So we sat, we talked, because I hadn't spoken with Mick for 20 years. And he was under the assumption that I had done certain things back when we were doing Generation Swine. And I was under the assumption that, he had done certain things. So we kind of went, we sat down, we just chewed the fat, got that out of the way. And he said, I want to do a solo record and I want to write it with you. I said, wow, okay. Love to help you out. Now, we talked, and then I went down and I met him, and I heard some of the ideas and stuff that he had. And then it was funny, but this was right before he was getting ready to leave to do the end, the solo final tour.
The final tour, yeah.
And right as he was leaving, I got the phone call from Marco to join the Daisies.
Right.
And then at that point, our schedules just went ape shit. He went that way, I went this way. And then we had a little window, maybe a week, 10 days. I believe it was in January of 2016. It was the year we did we recorded Make Some Noise record.
Right.
And
2016.
Yeah. And Mick said, hey, I wrote some stuff. I guess he recorded it with Tommy Hendrickson from Alice Cooper's band. They were on tour together. He recorded a couple of ideas with Tommy and Chuck Garrett. And he asked me if I would sing them. And I said, yeah, sure. When? He goes, today. I'm like, all right, cool. So I got in my car. I went to the studio in Nashville. One of the songs, really, I wasn't crazy about the lyrics. It didn't really have very many lyrics. So I just wrote down really quick lyrics. And I went in and I sang 2 songs. One was called Gimme Blood. The other one was called Shake the Cage. And then that was that. I went back on tour. Mick went on tour. And I heard he's finished his record, but I don't know if he's going to use those songs. I don't know. He just asked me to sing the 2, and we were kind of at the point where we were like, yeah, my schedule's pretty crazy. Your schedule's pretty crazy. For us to really do a record of your ideas, this is going to be like 8-10 hour days every day of the week. Like,
do it properly.
Yes. And I just didn't have the time at the time. I mean, we did make some noise. I did like 3 more records after that with the Daisies, and then I kind of tapped out on in 2019. Yeah. But you know, I'm as excited as everybody else to hear Mick's new thing. So, but I have no idea. Everybody asks me, "Hey, whatever happened to those 2 songs?" I'm like, "You're asking the wrong bastard."
Right.
It's Mick Mars you need to talk to.
So it really came down to a scheduling thing. It wasn't like you guys had a falling out or something. Because there was a lot of speculation online, like, oh, they couldn't get it together. Or...
Well, the one rumor that I heard, and I can't verify, was that he made a record and then decided to remake the record and start, you know, threw the house out and restarted the whole thing. And it was just like...
But that, you know what? Here's the thing. I love Mick to death.
Right.
And Mick is truly one of the most underrated guitar players, but he's also one of the most insecure people I've ever met. Like, Mick wants to and you know, and that's the thing. Like, I keep saying, like, if he sits on this record too long, like anybody, I would probably do the same thing. But if he sits on the record too long, if it doesn't come out, Mick will eventually tear it apart mentally and want to re-record it again.
Yeah. So, and I've heard he's already done that. That's the news I got, is that he made it, he was done. So yeah, I mean, who knows?
Yeah, and especially with this year sitting around, maybe he did it for a 3rd time. Re-record every part.
That's what happens when you're sitting around doing nothing. But there you go.
Hey, one last question for you, John, before you wrap. I was watching this really awesome live performance of Hooligan's Holiday at 37 Main with Kevin Hunter on guitar.
Yes.
And Kevin used to play in Shania Twain's band before, like, they solidified her touring band back in the late 90s. Did Kevin ever talk to you and, like, tell stories about working with Mutt Lange in rehearsals and stuff, or?
I don't know what the deal was. I love Kevin to death, and I kind of, we had a lot of fun on the road, and you know, and there was times where, and he can dish it out as well, but I rode him like a bike, like just fucked with him the whole time. And he was telling me this story, like, he told me, I go, so you were with Shania Twain? I'm like, yeah. And I have had, like, for the longest time, I met Shania in 92 or 93, right after I joined Motley. We went to the American Music Awards and we were giving Billy Ray Cyrus, of all people, his
Achy Breaky Heart,
his award for Achy Breaky Heart. And Shania came out and she had this like 1-piece leather, skin tight, patent leather outfit on, and she came out, and I was like, and Tommy goes, "Don't even think about it. That's Mutt Lange's wife." Done. I
don't even think about it.
I can still have the inner fantasies. Okay, so just shut up. So I was asking Kevin, I'm like, "Oh, hey, dude, you know, so you worked with Shania Twain?" Yeah. I go, "Was she cool?" You know, he goes, I don't know. I never really talked with her much. Okay, you know. But then we eventually found out there was another guy on that same tour that we did. He goes, "Dude, I love Kevin, man, but he's got no fucking like." And if you know Kevin, you know, like he's like really into soccer. He's really into taking care of himself. He's really into like fresh fruits and vegetables and
well, that's exactly how Shania and Mutt were. So they would have been right up his alley.
Kind of. So he tells me this story that Kevin was in catering one day, and he goes and he's going up and down the buffet or whatever, and he's taking a little of this and he's taking a little of that. And Shania apparently came into catering with a little group of people. And so Kevin's sitting there and he's at the table and he finishes his food and he walks over to Shania. He goes, "Excuse me, Shania." And she goes, yeah. And he goes, "Can you do anything about the catering? God, it sucks."
Nice. Ouch.
Yeah, you can collect your last paycheck, on the, so I used to bust his balls about it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And then even when he was with us, we were at a truck stop and we were all going in. It was like Topher. I think I had Troy Patrick Farrell on that tour. And, we would get to a truck stop and, truck stop food. I mean, it's like
burgers and fries. What do you more you want?
A cupcake in a plastic wrapper that's going to be good until like 2067.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And, so we're going in, we're getting food. Kevin jumps out of the car. He's bouncing his soccer ball up and down in the parking lot. And we go in and we come out. We've got Slim Jims, the foam hat, the pinwheel, like the Jim Carrey from Dumb and Dumber. We're doing all this shit. We got the cheese dogs, all this shit. And Kevin goes, "Hey, did you happen to notice if they sell any like fresh tomatoes or peaches in there?" And I'm like, "Dude, it's fucking truck stop. Go get a Slim Jim. Go get some pork rinds. Call it a day." You know what I mean? So there was a little bit of, but he's the sweetest guy on the planet. He still calls every year for my birthday, for Christmas, for my wife's birthday, for anniversary. I love the guy to death, and what an incredible guitar player. Do you know what I mean? But I'm like,
Yeah, I'm just gonna know him as the guy that told Shania she needs to get better vegetables.
He's on his own little satellite dish. Let's just put it that way. But
Oh,
in a
that's
good way.
amazing. That's amazing. Well, Cosi Bella is so beautiful. Latest single from John Corabi, available now on all streaming services. Make sure you go purchase it on iTunes, available now, or you go buy the single on Amazon, stream it on YouTube, wherever you get your music. Go and check it out. John, this was an absolute pleasure to meet you and chat with you today. This is great.
Thank you, guys. Mitch again, once again. Thank you.
Oh, it was a pleasure.
Yes.
We'll do it for the next single.
Pardon me now?
We'll do it again for the next single in 2 months.
Yeah, well, 2 months or next month.
But next time, only Motley Crüe questions for the entire half hour.
And hey, for you, buddy, whatever you want to do. It's all good.
Thank you, sir. Always a pleasure.
Perfect.
Guys.
Bonsoir. Cheers.
Bonsoir. Thank you.
Yep. See you later.
See ya.